When a single
gonna be
moment
okay.
changes everything, love becomes the strongest force in the room.
It's gonna be
If
okay.
you enjoy emotional,
You
heartwarming
can do
family
it.
stories,
You're
make
almost
sure to
there.
subscribe so you
Just
never
one more
miss a new
push.
chapter. Today, we follow Ly Tu Tien through the most intense journey of her life, rushing to the hospital in unbearable labor pain, facing an urgent C-section, and finding strength in Jack and his mother's unwavering
It's all
support.
right, we're here for you.
Inside the operating room,
Take a deep
prayers
breath.
rise, fear deepens, and hope flickers
Here
until
is your
baby Anna's
baby.
first cry shatters the tension, filling the family with overwhelming joy.
Oh
Now,
my goodness.
let's step into their story. Ly Tu Tien felt the first sharp wave of pain sweep across her abdomen late in the afternoon, a pain so sudden and intense that it stole her breath for a moment. At first, she tried to steady herself, telling Jack that it might only be another contraction, like the ones she had been enduring for days. But when the second wave hit, stronger, deeper, unmistakably urgent, her fingers tightened around Jack's arm with a desperation that made his heart skip. Jack reacted instantly, calling his mother as he helped Tu Tien move toward the car. By the time they reached the hospital, sweat had already soaked through her blouse, and her face was a mixture of fear, endurance, and maternal determination. Once inside, nurses rushed her onto a bed and began a quick assessment. Jack stood right beside her, his thumb brushing across her knuckles, trying to lend her every ounce of strength he possessed. His mother hovered near the foot of the bed, her eyes full of worry, yet carrying an undeniable gentleness meant to soothe. Minutes later, the doctor arrived, and after a swift examination, delivered the news that made Tu Tien's heart drop. She would need an emergency C-section. The baby's position was not ideal, and waiting any longer could put both mother and child at risk. For a moment, the room felt unbearably still. Tu Tien stared up at the ceiling, trying to process the situation as the fear inside her began to swell. She had prepared herself for this day for months, but nothing could have prepared her for the sudden shift from anticipation to urgency. The doctor's voice was calm yet firm as he explained the risks, the steps, the necessity. Jack squeezed her hand again, leaning close, whispering that everything would be all right, that she was strong and that he was right there with her. His mother stepped to the other side of the bed, placing a warm hand on Tu Tien's shoulder, speaking softly in a mixture of encouragement and prayer. Despite the chaos swirling around her, Tu Tien felt a fragile warmth growing in her chest. Surrounded by the people who loved her most, she found the courage to nod at the doctor. As the nurses prepared her for surgery, she turned her head slightly toward Jack. His eyes were moist but filled with unwavering love, and in that moment, she realized she was not facing this alone. No matter what awaited behind the doors of the operating room, she knew she had a family standing right beside her, holding her together with their faith, their hope, and their unyielding devotion. As soon as the preparations were complete, the nurses began to wheel Tu Tien toward the operating room. The sterile hallways seemed longer than usual, illuminated by cold fluorescent lights that flickered softly overhead. Jack walked beside the moving bed, refusing to let go of her hand, even for a second. Though masked by determination, his trembling fingers betrayed how terrified he truly was. He kept whispering to her, small, fractured reassurances, reminders of how strong she was, how close they were to finally meeting their little girl. His mother followed closely behind them, her hands clasped tightly together, murmuring prayers under her breath with every step they took. When they reached the double doors of the surgical wing, a nurse paused and announced that Jack was permitted to come inside, provided he followed all safety procedures. Relief washed through him so quickly that his knees nearly buckled. He had feared being separated from Tu Tien at the most vulnerable moment of her life. Tu Tien felt the shift in his grip, the loosened breath he exhaled, and she looked up at him with a weak but grateful smile.
Even in her pain, she was comforted by the certainty that she would not face the bright, overwhelming lights of the operating room alone. Inside, the world became a blur of stainless steel instruments, the soft hum of machines, and the quiet but purposeful voices of the medical team preparing for surgery. Jack was guided to a stool near her head, where he could remain close without interfering. He reached for her hand again, lacing their fingers together, grounding her as the anesthesiologist spoke softly, explaining each step. Though Tu Tien felt her fear rising again, it was tempered by the warmth of Jack's presence beside her. Outside the room, his mother waited just beyond the sealed doors, pacing in small circles before eventually sinking into a chair. Her lips moved without pause, her whispered prayers carrying a rhythm of hope and desperation. She prayed for strength for Tu Tien, wisdom for the doctors, and protection for the tiny life about to enter the world. Each time she paused for breath, she pressed her hands together tighter, as if the intensity of her prayer could reach through the operating room walls. Back inside, Jack leaned close to Tu Tien, brushing a stray strand of hair from her forehead. Despite the mask covering half his face, she could see the emotion in his eyes: fear, devotion, and an overwhelming tenderness that studied her heartbeat. The surgical team readied their instruments. The doctor's voice rose gently above the soft hum of machines, signaling that the procedure was about to begin. Jack closed his eyes for one brief moment, silently joining his mother's prayers, surrendering everything to faith and hope as he prepared to witness the moment that would change their lives forever.
The first minutes of the surgery felt impossibly long. Jack could hear the soft clinking of instruments, the measured voices of the medical team, and the steady but distant rhythm of the monitor beside Tu Tien. He held her hand with both of his, trying to shield her from everything except his love. Her eyes fluttered open and closed as the anesthesia settled over her, and each time she blinked up at him, he whispered a promise: "You're doing so well. I'm right here. She's almost here." His heart pounded with such intensity that he wondered if the entire room could hear it. Outside, his mother continued her relentless prayers, her voice trembling but full of unshakable faith. Then, suddenly, a shift in tone rippled through the room. The doctor straightened his posture, nodding to the nurse at his side. Conversations softened into whispers, the air thinned with anticipation. Jack felt his breath catch. The world seemed to hold still for a single heartbeat, an aching, suspended moment where all fears and all hopes collided in silence. And then it happened. A sharp, quivering cry pierced the sterile air, small yet powerful enough to break every barrier of fear that had weighed on their hearts. Jack's eyes widened, filling instantly with tears as the sound echoed through the room like a miracle unfolding. The doctor lifted a tiny, wriggling, perfect little girl into view, red-faced, squirming, alive. Their daughter, their beautiful Anna. Jack let out a breath that broke into a sob, half laughter, half overflowing gratitude. "She's here," he whispered, though his voice trembled so much it barely escaped his throat. The nurse quickly wrapped Anna in a soft blanket before bringing her closer, allowing Jack a first glimpse of the tiny miracle he had prayed for with every fiber of his being. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the reality of seeing her, hearing her, feeling the weight of her existence settling into his heart. Outside the operating room, his mother heard the faint cry and collapsed into tears of relief, pressing both hands to her chest as joy washed over her like warm sunlight.
Her prayers had been answered. Their family had been blessed. When the nurse finally placed baby Anna gently on Tu Tien's chest, time seemed to dissolve completely. Tu Tien, though exhausted and trembling, gazed down at her daughter with an expression so full of wonder it softened every sharp edge of the world around her. Anna's tiny body nestled against her skin, warm and fragile and impossibly precious. A small fist curled against her collarbone, and Tu Tien felt her heart open in a way she had never known before. Tears slipped down her temples as she whispered the baby's name, her voice barely audible, but carrying the weight of infinite love. In that moment, surrounded by Jack's trembling laughter, his mother's muffled sobs of joy, and the gentle cry of new life pressed against her chest, Tu Tien knew she would remember this feeling for the rest of her life. This was the moment her world became whole. This was the moment everything began.